the internet is crack. You try to go, but we all know you'll be back because the internet is crack.
The Internet is Crack, the show that asks the question, can we coexist with our creation? Hi, I'm Caroline Risberg,
And I'm Seth Camillo.
and we are The Internet is Crack by addicts for addicts.
And today we have an incredibly special guest, my cousin, Brenda. And she is, well, she's been in many bands, but the Feelies, Speed the Plow, Wild Carnation. She is an absolutely amazing musician. I last night listened to Superbus all the way through again and was absolutely mind blown by how wonderful that album is. Out of all your albums, I listen to it all the time. I love the sound of it too. It's just, I don't know, I could go on forever talking about how much I like that album. And also Brenda was good enough to give me one of her songs to use in one of my documentaries, Gridiron Heroes. So that was a real generous and wonderful thing, and it really elevated the film to have music of such high quality. So here we are. We're going to be talking about music and the internet, and let's go on. Get going. How you doing today, Brenda?
Okay, what can I say after that?
How did you get started?
Oh,
How did you get started?
I guess music lessons in the family. Well, in the extended family, music is really, really important.
Absolutely.
And having an uncle who had studied accordion, as well as aunts and uncles, like great aunts and uncles who had studied. It was kind of a natural thing.
Yeah. And you started playing out though at a very young age, right?
The first actual gigs were folk folk worship services at a church, but I was kind of a guest. I wasn't the main part of the group. I was just kind of, I'd join once in a while.
Sure.
And then there was a gig at the Lobster Shanty
Yeah.
because it's seafood restaurant that was looking for a couple.
Jersey, right?
Yeah,
We got all the East Coast, New York.
so that's the very beginnings of it. But prior to performance, just listening to AM radio was a big influence. Like I've done a number of interviews, and in prepping for the interviews or during the interviews, I realized how much of AM radio, how much that affected me. And what I realized was that it was a lot of R&B.
Right.
I know things have changed so much. I don't even know these days what the equivalent of AM radio.
Well, maybe the internet would be the AM radio, right? Because you can put anything on there.
Yeah, but where do you go on the internet? What, stations are there? Or, I just, we do listen to podcasts from time to time. We do listen to FM, alternative radio, on the internet. So stations that are generally back in New Jersey, but also there's really great Cincinnati station. But those people are like my age or younger, but not people coming up with this whole new internet technology.
Yeah.
So getting back, back in the day, maybe it looks better through nostalgia, but there seemed to be a really good blend of all types of music, and R&B was way up there. So I just have really good, strong memories of Gladys Knight. And Sly. Also a big Melanie fan. Whether we were being fed that or whether it was coming through in a natural way, I don't know.
Well, I think what you said is interesting, just about how much quote unquote choice there is on the internet, but how hard it is to find that choice. And it's kind of a messiness to it that I think leads to people gravitating to the same thing, which is in opposition to why I think it was created. You know what I mean? It's sort of weird the way
Okay.
it works.
Yeah, yeah, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. It could show that humanity shines through and we are drawn to certain things or repelled by certain things, or people can really be mass influenced.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Right. That's a good.
that will be something to dive into.
Yeah.
But you started playing, didn't you start playing for the Feelies when you were 18 or 19?
Oh no, no. Maybe I just looked 18 or 19. No, I was in my getting into my mid-20s.
Oh, okay.
So the lobster shanty, that would have been around age 18.
Mhm.
And then there were groups that I joined. You just meet people at school,
Yeah.
and hey, you're a musician, I'm a musician. Let's make a band. So a lot of those don't really get off the ground, but it's a good experience.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Feelies were well, actually the Tripes came first, but I mean we could go down a rabbit hole with
Yeah, exactly.
whole
Yeah.
all the New Jersey music scene, but the bands were very, very connected. So if you join one band, you'd end up joining the other bands, and especially since they really didn't have a bass player. Once the Feelies moved on from Keith D'Annunzio,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so being a bass player, yeah, once you join one band, you were in all the bands because there were no bass players except for the Feelies.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that yeah, little Feelies.
Must have been a very, very exciting time.
It was, and I still don't know how I ended up in the groups because I had been told by people, "Oh, if you're not from Halden, they'll never let you in." And my first experience was jamming with the Tripes. Um, and then I got up the nerve to say, "If you ever want a bass player, I'd love to play."
That's awesome.
And that phone call took, I think, about half a year, but I got the call. I think it was in January of '82 maybe, and I was just thrilled. My world totally changed.
Yeah.
Met new friends, and then I joined the various bands one by one. I think the Feelies was, that happened in '83.
Mm.
Okay.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and
And
and it's really the right place at the right time,
yeah.
Right.
and, my playing was kinda simple back then, and nothing I mean, I've never actually strived to be fancy. I guess I've never had the guts to say, "Hey, why did you invite me into the band?"
Yeah.
Just
Just happened. You'll never know why. Yeah. Well,
yeah, well, if I
And yeah.
so and you
Had it, you had it.
something, yeah.
So I have a question. So bass is actually one of my favorite instruments. So how came that you started to did you choose bass from the beginning, or would you say just play the harmonica?
no
It's a
accordion.
accordion. Sorry.
Actually, well, my brothers took accordion and I took piano, and I did have the guts to ask my mother, why I was given piano lessons while my brothers got accordion lessons, and it was because I was a girl.
Okay.
Girls didn't play accordions, at least back then. I guess the girls, should not play accordions, we should play piano.
Okay.
We know times have obviously changed.
And then when did you switch
Yeah,
to
but I
bass?
could see that. Yeah.
So I started guitar in 5th grade, and switching to bass was totally out of necessity. I was in a band with like at times 4 guitar players and 1 drummer, and then the drummer quit because there was no bass player; it was just all guitar players.
Yeah.
Sometimes I played keyboard, but we were all guitarists and singers sharing in the singing. So I said, "Okay, I'll take up bass." But then by the time I took it up, the group had dissolved. But I decided to stick with it. I kind of got hooked on it, and then I started to go. I'd go watch bands, live bands, and generally they were cover bands. You know, I hate to admit that's all that I really had access to. I had no idea that there was this alternative scene happening in other clubs. Um, so
That's interesting. That's something that the internet does bring to people, is all sorts of different music, and you get to watch all sorts of different. I mean, you could spend your life listening to all the different music that's been uploaded to the internet. You know, and I'm not talking about the popular stuff. I'm talking about just, you can just go just searching for bands and seeing live performances on YouTube of, the hottest band in Cincinnati, hottest band in Berkeley, and you can watch that kind of stuff. And so that is something that I think the internet does provide for musicians,
yeah,
some more variety. And you get to see them live too because of YouTube.
But it's not the same to see them on YouTube as to actually go and see someone playing live. It's a
right,
completely different feeling.
right. Because often you may not have the opportunity to see that band live, so that gives you at least, yeah, you can see what they look like playing their instruments or singing.
So
Yeah.
you just went from 1983 till now, right? You've been making music
Yeah.
continuously.
Yeah, so the Feelies, stopped in July of '91, and then, within a year, Wild Carnation, had risen up, um, and then, yeah, so Wild Carnation was, '92 through. I mean, we took a break in 2000, actually right after recording Superbus. I was pregnant the whole time, but we were recording Superbus, so obviously, we finished recording in October of 2000, and then Rich and I had a son
Mm.
in December. So the vocals were, I was quite pregnant,
Really?
singing those vocals. Yeah, the vocals were the last thing to be recorded.
Right, beautiful. They were so beautiful.
So
And you know, so many wonderful things with doubling up your voice, and I just it's I think it's a masterpiece of music, but it's also like I listened to it to the way you mixed it is I think you guys just did just an I don't know who produced it, but
yeah,
honestly produced album.
kudos to James Mastro because I mean, he was co-producer, but he did a lot. He really helped so much in crafting it, in guiding us, in making suggestions, coming up with things to do with the drums or
I love the way the drums sound. I don't know why more people don't make them sound. They sound alive.
they sound like drums, yeah.
They sound like drums. They sound alive as opposed to yeah, exactly. They sound like drums. It sounds like I'm in the room with a drummer, which is not a feeling I get very often when I listen to recorded music.
Yes, yes. Well, the '80s, into the '90s, I mean, that was the big gated, drums, sync era, and I guess that it's still bleeding into modern music, but I think there are a number of bands that are going back to a real sound, you know, I mean, I obviously don't have the time to delve into all different types of music, but it seems like it's very, techno or
Yeah.
there's a whole rising up of indie bands. One interview that I did, I guess it's, like, 2 years ago now, um, the interviewer asked, "So are you like a real indie band or are you?" 'Cause I think he thought that I was a modern indie band, and when I mentioned the dates, then he was kinda jolted a little bit like, "Oh, you are an indie band." Um, and that was kinda good to hear that, that there are bands that sound a lot like the Feelies or Wild Carnation. And it's good that it goes to the next generation, that's so important.
I agree. It's so important. It really is that we can keep having, I call it real music, you know, and it is. It is real music and real musician. Like I would say, I said to Seth earlier, like she's a musician, you know. Not, and I think that's important. And I'm really hoping that um the new generation actually will really learn how to pick up a guitar and pick and play the real instruments because today, I mean, you have this AI and all the thing that anyone can be a musician. You can tell them to do, and that's it's for me. Music is one of the most important thing in life. So I'm like, don't mess with it. Don't have a machine doing it because there's so much love in it. You know.
What effects did you feel when the internet started? Did you feel any effects? Did, was there anything for you musically?
Music wise, it helped us to see what we had been doing. Certainly back in the day when the Feelies were touring, you'd have to pick up newspapers where as you were on tour, you'd hope to find a newspaper where you might see an article about your show, which was difficult. You're heading out of town and maybe the article is the next day or a couple days later. Certainly we had agents who would, it was their job to find any information and maybe send us a clipping, put together a packet of like all recent articles. Um, but once the Feely started playing again in 2008,
Mm.
there it was on the internet. And then like the first show, seeing people with their phones pointed at us
Oh.
was huge and a bit of a distraction. It was just something so different. I mean, we were used to people, snapping a photo, but once just watching people in the audience, when I realized, oh, this is video, they're not just whipping out their camera and taking a photo and putting it down. So it's a little unnerving that everything is documented now in that way. And so you kind of lose the spontaneity of a show knowing that it's there forever until everything crashes and we can't access that stuff anymore. So, but then knowing that people are taking videos, then, we could just do a search the next day or the same day.
Mm.
And if I thought a song sounded really good, could go on the internet and hear, what or see what someone posted and then confirm, oh yeah, that was good. Well, it wasn't as good sounding through the phone. So being able to, well, in an indirect way, have a presence on the internet, that just totally changed things. And again, it's kind of there forever. Whereas, in fact, I have containers of Feelies memorabilia and also Wild Carnation and the Chipes and
Yeah,
all the other bands. And
need the plot.
right, so the bands from the early 1980s till 91, but then Speed the Plow. So that would be like till 95. It's a container like this, or actually two containers. And then Wild Carnation and the Feelies, 2000s through present, it's just like that much because so much of it is on the internet
Yeah.
that
Oh,
we're
interesting.
not clipping articles anymore. I mean, at one point, if I saw something on the internet, I might, print it out, and now I just don't do that because it's there, and so my boxes are getting smaller and smaller.
Mm, that is it's so interesting. It's true. But just with the digital cameras now that you can take, I'm looking at my phone and I have like thousands of pictures. And I know I talked a lot with my mom about this, and she said, it's so sad. I don't have the regular pictures anymore you can look at. It's like everything is on the phone or on the computer or I don't know, it's kind of losing something. But I thought was very interesting what you said, like how it changed when people start standing with a phone and
Mhm.
filming you when you're playing. I mean,
Mhm.
that's of course it must be so different from you to being on stage and
Mhm.
suddenly have people who don't interact in the same way. They are like standing there with a stupid
Mhm.
phone or
Mhm. But I do wanna say the Feelies audiences are incredible, and they're wonderful audiences. So there are more people who are directly engaged, and that's something that's really come across, in recent times, how happy people are, and even our crew have said, "You have no idea how happy those people are." And we can't always see the faces because it might be darker. So there's just so much engagement and happiness, which is a huge thing for humanity, I think.
yeah.
That people love the live experience, they want to be there, and sure, they're going to take a clip here and there to have to keep so that they can remember it. By posting it, then they're sharing it with us. But there is this incredible feeling. It's just a beautiful thing. And then when we feel that and see that, then we give back. We want to play even better. And there's this incredible giving and taking throughout the show.
Has the financial side of things changed a lot since the internet has come around?
What is Taylor Swift like? She's got someone that big has to have money coming from other sources. Oh,
That's what they say. They
It's
they
true.
say that Stoop Dogg said that I had 1 billion streams and I made $40,000. So 1 billion stream, a billion. There's only 1 billion people on the planet.
It's care where, someone comes in and says, "Well, I'll be a healthcare agency." And so it's not doctor to patient. There's now this middle person who's gonna take the chunk of it, and the same thing has happened on the internet. Um, Bandcamp is one of the exceptions, and so
Camp
well,
Rock.
Bandcamp now we're just on Bandcamp, and there we finally are paid for our products. It sounds for um, they take a small amount, and unless things change, because we know things can change,
Mm.
they um, the artist gets much more support through Bandcamp as opposed to now, Amazon streaming, where I have yet to see any money from Amazon. I mean, and like no, there's and even YouTube, like people I'm still in like trying to figure out, and I just don't have literally have the time to figure out um, how to stop people from using our music and placing ads. So someone will put something on YouTube that let's say a Wild Carnation video or one of our songs, and then to listen to it, it used to be you just go to YouTube and you listen to whatever. Well, now there are commercials. Like so,
Oh,
they'll host a site and they'll have various bands on that page or that site, but you have to get through a commercial first. So they are making money off of our music, and we are getting nothing from it, and that is just unjust.
yeah.
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 And so you have to track it down, and it's just a mess.
And with that whole streaming is it it does take away from the artist, I think, the money for sure. I mean, we see like for example in Las Vegas now the really, really big artists that have residency because they don't make money out of albums the way they used to. So they make more money paying tickets, let's say Adele, right? Be there than actually of the even though she's enormous. But streaming, they've I don't know.
It's essentially stealing music. I mean,
It is.
basically,
Yeah.
if you wanted to listen to a song, you had to buy the CD or you had to buy the record, and now that's gone. And essentially, they're essentially giving the music away. I pay $10 a month for Apple Music, and I think I could. There's nobody. I've never found anybody I couldn't hear. They've got
Oh, you can hear everyone, even with Spotify. And you can be on, if you're on the free version, you hear commercials. I mean, where, you can hear any band you want.
And how much does the band make?
almost nothing. They had no interest in protecting the artists at all. And I don't think it's too much different than Napster, to be quite honest with you. Every time I use Apple Music, I feel a sense of guilt, to be honest with you, because I'm
Mhm.
like, it's not even the price of a CD. And I can listen to the Beatles. I can listen to, anybody. Pylon. We used to trust it. Because they were, I remember when REM won Album of the Year, they said, we're not the best band in America. We're not even the best band in Athens, Georgia. There's a band called Pylon, right? So even there, even this little band from Athens, Georgia is on Apple Music, It's and they're not getting any money, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I make music, and I love now so I get excited, like, I'll go on, I'll say, "Oh, 200 people listen to my music this month. Wow, that's really great. That's really cool." I'll feel really good about that. But now on Spotify, you don't get any money until you reach 1,000. To add insult to injury to the small little, a guitar and a dream, you don't even get any money. And once you reach 1,001, you don't get 1,001. You get one.
Oh, nice.
It starts at one.
Set up the hurdles.
It
But I'm hearing here, I have the Feelies here on my Apple Music.
probably making
At 1.01 something. Well, interestingly, so a lot of Feelies fans write to us and ask, why aren't Only Life and Time for Witness streaming?
yeah.
Those two albums are not streaming. You just go to YouTube and,
So they are streaming, but just on different.
well, they're not legally streaming. Yeah. Or someone will take their Feelies record, whatever, put the track on YouTube, and then I guess they can have commercials and they make money.
I
So
had no
those are
idea.
the things we need to try to pull down. But Universal does not do streaming. And so the A&M albums are now part of Universal. Now things are being negotiated, but in a way, I want to say kudos to Universal for holding on,
Yeah,
Yeah.
thinking that.
because once they let that go, once they start streaming, like who makes the money then? I think maybe the band has even less of a chance of making money if it's Universal than to Apple or Amazon or whatever. So if again, people could just go to YouTube and listen sort of illegally, or they can buy the album from us.
Yeah, which is interesting because we're dealing with technology, but there's also audio quality. See, the record is better sounding than the CD, which is better sounding than the stream. And you're left with the worst audio, and that's a reason maybe to motivate people to buy CDs and records, higher audio quality. But
There are some who will care. Like we will put a CD at my home. We put a CD on. We got Pope speakers, audio, incredible, incredible. What am I like a rummage sale for like $4, and they will just shake the house down. It's just amazing. And there are some albums we just have to put nice and loud, and it's not going to come through streaming. But then streaming, are people listening on their small devices? Are they listening through their stereo system, or is it on a small device? So if it's a lower quality, it probably doesn't matter to
Right.
a certain percentage of people.
Well, I think it's very interesting that I got rid of like I used to go to Goodwill like every other day, basically looking for speakers and amps, and I got rid of everything because I almost got guilted into it. People were like, "That's don't be an old man, right? Like everything's on your phone. What are you doing?" And I still have the records, but it was sort of a strange. I think it's happening to a lot of people. I mean, that used to be such a big deal. Your listening setup.
Well, but yesterday, for example, said like in a car, new cars today do not have CD players in them.
No.
You can only do streaming in your car. I mean, bookshelves of CDs and albums and all of this, but literally you can't. Or DVD, like movies DVD. You don't really. It's almost like they're taking that away. So the access going to be harder to. Listen to it. I like to put on a CD, but but I'm just saying in the car, I don't even have the option. Well, what do? I go to Spotify and there or whatever I'm go to, and then I can listen to whoever I want to because it's right there. So it's yeah. Anyway,
Mhm.
So I think the internet has definitely changed the listening experience. You also don't listen to records, I think, as much. If you put a record on, you kind of make a commitment that you're going to listen to the record. And now I find myself song to song, and then it's, what do they call it? The stream list, the song list, or I don't,
right.
uh, yeah, people put their favorite mixes up, but nobody just says, "Hey, why don't you listen to the whole album?"
Yeah.
And they worked really hard to make each song flow into each song.
That's a good point.
And back in the day, it was side 1 and side 2.
Yep.
Good Earth, like, side 1 flowed and then side 2 flowed.
Yeah.
There CDs came out, but, like, there was that mindset of side 1 and side 2. But you have to say that, like, vinyl is really popular again, and so in spite of thinking that, vinyl died, whatever, 10 or 20 years ago,
Yeah.
there's this resurgence that's just great, and in fact, people are buying the vinyl and not the CDs.
Well, vinyl is a
That's
higher
good.
it does have a higher frequency response. I mean, the only problem is that a CD you can never injure, but every time you play a record, you
Okay.
injure it slightly. I
Yeah,
mean, the first time you play it, better than the last time.
yeah, my 45s from the '70s are a testimony to that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I can see. But it was fun also with like say not the CD, I'm Swedish, but we call it the 7-inch was the smaller one, and then you have the 12-inch, the maxi single. But you have, as you say, like the A side, the popular song, and then if you turn it, the B side, that could be a song that was not even on the album.
So what do you think about artificial intelligence? Have you thought about it at all? I mean, I have played with it. You can put a prompt in and say something like, "I miss my girlfriend," and all of a sudden you'll end up with a song that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, so I went to, a couple of the links that you sent me, and it wa I it's hard to grasp it, the extent of it. So as I was watching, I was thinking, "All right, yeah," like you just said, you just put in a prompt, an idea, and then it's gonna give you a whole song. It just you don't need, musical brains anymore. You just, like, it'll something will do it for you, and that's kind of depressing and dehumanizing.
Yes.
While it's also fascinating in a way.
Yes.
And what really kinda blew me away was that, um, depending on the genre, it'll be a different voice.
Yep.
So there was like the punk rock voice, there was the rap voice, and then all different genres within genres. And so I wondered, well, whose voice did they ultimately use? Or is it just taking a voice
From
and broken down into
It's not a person's voice. It's just a collection of the entirety of humanity put together, and they come up with something.
but how is a voice I mean, I get it how, you can recreate instruments. That's been done for decades now with, it's simple, and you can just play it on a keyboard and it'll sound like a bass, maybe.
Well, we need to talk to Nick.
Right.
We're gonna figure out exactly how they make a voice, but they can make a voice.
Yeah, like, do they take, you know, someone
No, I don't believe so. I believe it.
get a sample like you would a key
No, I believe it's all computer generated from like if you're doing a jazz voice, it would listen to the tens and tens of thousands of jazz singers that it has in its catalog, and it will make something new. It's not taking somebody else's voice, it's creating a new voice as far as I understand. And the other thing to point out is, as good as they are, this is something that I have to be reminded of all the time because everything is coming so quickly. This is the worst it will ever be in history. Can you imagine what it's gonna be like in 5 years? With how good those songs are gonna be? I Miss My Girlfriend, and you type that in as the prompt. I mean, they're gonna be #1 hits, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't are people going to buy it and then
I don't know.
or are people going to avoid it and say, "No, I just wanna" well, we know a percentage will go for it and not really think about anything excuse me, not think about anything beyond that they like the song, they wanna listen to it. But others will have the dilemma of, "Well, who am I supporting?"
Well, I think some
So,
of this is generational. Um, if you're 10 years old right now, and you're just getting into music, and all of a sudden you're 15 and you hear a song that really moves you, and that happens to have been created by the internet, you're so used to all this stuff. It probably hits you differently than it hits us. Like, I can't imagine. I told a friend of mine she's a neuroscientist, and I'm hopefully going to interview her. She said she would be interviewed by us. But I said, I will never cry at a AI made film. And her simple response was, yes, you will. And because they're going to be that good. She's like, they will be that
Oh,
good.
but I just feel like is as you said earlier, the humanized. Don't they want to? I mean, you and I talked about that before, Seth. Like, well, I love the Prince, and I love Michael Jackson, and I love so many artists.
Mhm.
And there were never. I mean, if a computer make Prince songs just as good, or Michael Jackson songs or whatever, but if that artist is not there, that's the one, or let's say Taylor Swift, just because she's so big right now. Isn't it there is the person you wanna listen to. Don't you wanna see them? Isn't like that is the I call it maybe the it factor, why somebody is have that persona or how to dance or how to move or how to play. I mean, I have so hard maybe I'm old, but I cannot compute in my head that I would like and I'm not saying maybe I would like an AI song. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but how I could like that better than an actual person because it's so much more than just the song, it's everything behind it, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, time will tell whether the human aspect of it is ultimately going to be the deciding factor.
Well, I just wonder if it's even possible. Human emotions, it's like sugar. Like, they just are fired because, like, I saw a music video made entirely on fake. I mean, I can't call it as fake media, right? AI media. And I watched that music video and I was ready to just think, this is stupid. This is stupid. And I was like, whoa, I am into this music video, deeply into it. And I'm like, the people in the video, they don't exist. They're not real.
It looks
But it's like sugar. I was moved. I couldn't help it. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, even just like last night, I was enjoying the fact that you came in on my right ear and the drums came in on both ears, not just the left ear. I was like, what, that's a choice, And
And that's thanks to James Master. That was not a computer that did that.
yes.
Yeah. That, it was, well, it was recorded digitally.
Oh, was it?
And, yeah, I mean, but at that point, the whole transition had happened,
Yeah.
but it was put onto tape to warm it up, to make it
Ah,
sound
Oh,
real. Uh, yeah, and then back to digital.
I'm still in shock how they can use your music and you're not getting paid. I'm still a little bit like I thought there was quite strict still, regardless of streaming or whatever.
You would think, but I guess there are just so many people posting, and is YouTube gonna go to every single person and say, "Oh, do you own that?"
it's funny. I can't post my own music on my Facebook page. I have to post it from YouTube. Even me, little me,
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
even little me. I put my music up and they say, in Facebook and Instagram say, copyright violation.
So then basically said YouTube owns your music because right? I mean,
Yeah, I can't post it any other way than through YouTube.
on your right? I mean, if you can post your own music,
No.
but you have to go through YouTube, then they own your music. I'm sorry, you said band?
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.com
Band.
is the site to go.
They might be the last remaining music link that, it's yours, you put it on the site, then it's still yours.
Well, I think this has been a wonderful conversation. And
I do too.
I don't know what positive things we have to pull out of this. You know what? I will say this as my positive thing. I got divorced. My little heart hurt. And I made a bunch of music. And I was able to put it up on the internet. Nobody listens to it, but it still feels like I'm sharing. And it was quite cathartic and something that would not have been possible before the internet. It- I don't know who I'm sharing with, if it's people who just want to listen because they know me and they want to laugh at it or whatever, but I don't know. But there is still a feeling of like, when I press that button, I'm sharing. And if there's something that feels good about that. So I think that is something positive.
Yeah, and you didn't have to book time at a studio.
No?
No offense to, studios, but you could just work in your own home,
Yep.
uh, much less cost, and when it's done or you feel it's done, then you post it.
Yeah. And that is something like you can you're right. You can actually release an album. You don't need a record label. You don't need that any I mean, yeah, that you do, but technically you can have people listen
When
to
I,
your music.
when I drive around, I put on iTunes and I put on my song and I'll listen to them and I'm like, this is shared with the world. Anybody on this planet who has access to the internet could listen to this song if they wanted to. And there's something about that feels good, you know? And I think I feel the same way about my films as well with digital distribution that, we were talking to Layton, who is my professor and film professor, and he was talking about how hard it used to be to watch a film. You had to show up at the right time and, drive and park and there's something, people
What
are
you love?
watching my films and and they wouldn't be watching them if they had to go down in the multiplex. They're watching them,
Right.
and that feels wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, one thing before I just want to, it's something that I've been thinking a lot about is the algorithm with music. And if you go into Spotify, let's say Spotify, I just happen to, um, it, if you listen to one song, then it kind of starts choosing, oh, this is the kind of music you like. So all this other word out there, you don't even really listen to because it first of all, there's billions of it, but they just create your station. So what we talked about earlier, when you talked about an AM station, you listen to different DJs or radio station and radio. Suddenly, it's not. It wasn't created. Oh, this is the only thing that Brenda want to listen to. It was actually gave you the chance to listen to bands you maybe never thought you would listen to, and then like, oh, this is good. Like, like I personally, I have to say, I have actually started listening to the radio now because I don't want to listen to my um, designed algorithm playlists because it's same songs over and over again, same kind of tones, whatever. And I like to listen to different radio stations because suddenly I hear music that I maybe want to.
Well, if I could put a plug in for WAIF in Cincinnati, WPRB in Princeton, New Jersey, and WFMU in Jersey City, New Jersey. Some of the shows you will hear songs that you've never heard before, but it's a human programming what you're going to listen to. And I don't know how many times we've jotted down another artist because
Yeah.
a voice, a sound would come across. Whoa, I've never heard this person before. And I jot it down. And uh, although we aren't able to go out and buy, sometimes we do purchase CDs of people that we've heard played on various radio stations. Sometimes it's listening through streaming. We can't go out and buy it all.
Sure.
But then yeah, it's just so many different artists that we never would have heard of if we hadn't been listening to this particular radio station.
And we'll put in this.
True.
Go to bandcamp.com. Don't go to your streaming service. And the Tribes,
Yeah.
the Plow, the Feelies, Wild Carnation, and buy records, buy CDs,
Yeah.
listen to the real stuff. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
My pleasure.
talking to us.
Okay.
You.
Thank you for watching or listening to The Internet is Crack. Join us next week when we have philosophy professor Alex Byrne from MIT on the show. You can watch us or listen to us on YouTube or Spotify or many other outlets. And don't forget to follow us on social media. See you next Monday.